Brother lads, welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news as well. Welcome back to the transfer roundup. We're going to be diving into the biggest stories of the week as Arsenal agreed to sign Calafiori for 50 million euros. Fabrizio Romano has just confirmed that in the last few seconds, and he says in the next few hours, Bologna and Arsenal have scheduled talks to get this deal out of the way, as also Arsenal have decided that Kiwior is going to be the player that makes way as Calafiori comes in. I know many people want Alexander Zinchenko, and many people thought Alexander Zinchenko should be the one making way, but it's going to be Kiwior making way as the Italian Riccardo Calafiori comes in. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Lots of big stories have happened this week, and that's why I've decided that this one should be a live one in order for us to get some of your thoughts and comments about the topics that have happened in the week. Cossy is another player that has left Arsenal on a free. He's joined Brighton. Brighton have confirmed that signing in the last few minutes as well. William Gallas has told Arsenal to go and sign Ollie Watkins as the striker, but Arsenal have other plans. They're actually looking to sign a young forward, and Osimhen and Victor Gyökeres. Those deals, I mean, people have been asking me what's happening with Gyökeres, what's happening with Osimhen. I can say now that those deals could be off as we speak, unless something changes, unless otherwise Osimhen and Gyökeres could be off. And of course, we'll be talking about Arsenal's plan after Riccardo Calafiori, who comes in next, who's next on the radar, and of course, how are things going to be moving on. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Welcome back to the weekly transfer roundup. It happens every weekend on Sunday, especially when we are doing transfers, so make sure you don't miss it. Let's start off with a big story from Fabrizio Romano, who has just confirmed that Arsenal at the moment have literally agreed that fee for Calafiori. Them and Bologna are now on the same page about the 50 million euros, and it's just about the payment structures. So Fabrizio says that Arsenal and Bologna almost have an understanding on a fee of around 50 million euros. Now they need to clarify the structure of the deal, how much fixed or add-ons are going to be paid, the payment terms as well. Entering into the new week, both clubs hope to get the deal done. That is Fabrizio Romano on his YouTube. You can go and check that out as well if you want to hear him speak. He's Italian, but that is the big story around from Fabrizio Romano as we end the week. And also to cap off the week, Fabrizio again has just confirmed that Kiwior is the one leaving Arsenal in case a good proposal comes in, with Riccardo Calafiori close to joining. He understands that there is a possibility for a loan, but only with a mandatory buy clause or option. Italian clubs are keeping their eyes on to the situation. No formal bids have been received by Arsenal yet, but that could change in the coming hours or even days as well. So those are the two big stories as we end the week. The biggest one is that Arsenal and Bologna now have a final agreement on what the price is going to be, and they have scheduled a new set of meetings. I think it should be 1 or 2 meetings, depending on how quickly we're going to do the deal. So they've scheduled a final round of meetings to make sure that payment structures are agreed, and all of the things that have to be outlined are outlined. At the moment, Riccardo Calafiori is out in the Maldives, enjoying his holidays, enjoying his break. Obviously, they broke off at the Euros a little bit earlier than expected. Italy had a very, very good display when you watch them, but quarterfinals, that was their last, and therefore the player did take a break. He's expected to get off his break, come back in Europe, do his medicals, sign his papers, get his media work done, and probably go back on holiday until he will officially be able and ready to play for Arsenal. That is probably in August. But I think the biggest one there for me is the fact that Arsenal have decided with Bologna that this one is going to end next week, as Arsenal are trying to sign another player at the same time. So remember, I told you yesterday that the German international we were looking at was undercover. The name was behind the scenes, was behind closed doors. Well, it looks like that name is Maximilian Beier. And I've talked about Maximilian Beier on the striker video I've just put out. Make sure you do watch it because I literally share all my thoughts on the striker situation and why Maximilian Beier, in my opinion, is just a good opportunity on the market. It's not a player Arsenal have been scouting for quite some time, but it's just a good opportunity on the market. But importantly, Arsenal want to get Riccardo Calafiori's deal done, and after that, quickly they want to get onto their second signing of the summer, who is your German international, who is apparently hidden, no longer hidden. That player is Maximilian Beier. Now, of course, it will depend on a lot of things. Can Arsenal agree a price with Hoffenheim? There are other clubs interested in Maximilian Beier as well, but Arsenal feel convinced that this is the player that should be coming in after failing to sign Benjamin Sesko earlier on this summer. So Jakub Kiwior, guys, Jakub Kiwior. That's where I want us to start. Jakub Kiwior is the player that is going to be leaving Arsenal when a good proposal comes in, and it will come in. Fabrizio understands that it's there could be even an option for a loan deal, as long as whoever wants him on loan can commit to buying him later on or after. Now, this is what I think, and this is what I say before. When Arsenal go for a new defender like Calafiori, even if it wasn't Calafiori, even if it was Jared Branthwaite or Murillo, one player was going to leave. And I thought about Kiwior, I thought about Zinchenko, I thought about Tomiyasu as well. Remember in January, there were talks about Tomiyasu leaving Arsenal. And, the talks were that Bayern wanted him and Bayern were interested in him. But of course, after Bayern changing manager, then he became an option no longer. They looked at other targets, Jonathan Tah, and a couple of other players. So it was always going to be between Kiwior and Zinchenko. Who has the good deal? Who has the better offers? Can we get good offers for Alexander Zinchenko at the moment? Arsenal are open to selling him. Can we get good offers for Kiwior right now? Arsenal are open to selling him. But when you look at the Italian market and you look at all the stories coming out from Italy and wherever, it looks like the offers that are being given to Arsenal at the moment, therefore Jakub Kiwior. And this is the reason. Jakub Kiwior played more football last season than many of the Arsenal defenders that were not starting. I would say it's Zinchenko, White, Saliba, and Gabriel that played more minutes than him last season. So that already puts you in a very interesting situation. That already puts you in a very poor position to buy, to get offers for him, right? Alexander Zinchenko, yes, he did play games. Yes, he did play some games. But the problem with Alexander Zinchenko is, again, last season, his injury-prone nature was exposed to clubs, and many clubs don't want that. So I know many Arsenal fans would say, go and sell Alexander Zinchenko, but Alexander Zinchenko offers are not available at the moment. And also, Zinchenko is getting into his third season at Arsenal. Mikel Arteta maybe might think, let me give him another year. Let's let him run into his third year at the club in his contract and see. Maybe his first year was good, second year a little bit of a disaster, and maybe his third year is going to be good. The same is going to happen with Gabriel Jesus. So I expect Zinchenko to be one of the players that concretely leave Arsenal in the next summer. And I also expect Gabriel Jesus to be among the players that concretely are going to leave Arsenal in the next summer. The reason is they will have spent 3 years at Arsenal, and the manager will have got enough game time, enough evidence on them to either keep them or sell. Now, if it's a ruthless manager like Mourinho, he will sell you. But because it's Mikel Arteta, and Mikel Arteta is like, a friend to Zinchenko, a friend to Gabriel Jesus, he's worked with them. You don't expect him to throw them out of the door as quickly as that. So that's why Kiwior is the one that's going to be leaving Arsenal and not Alexander Zinchenko. He's going to leave because even you look at the offers that Arsenal could get for Kiwior. They're serious offers. Arsenal are going to be making a profit on Kiwior. We bought him for 15 million euros from Spezia. We are hearing that Arsenal will want to sell for 30 million euros, right? So 30 million euros, that's a good deal. Napoli can afford that. Inter Milan can afford that. AC Milan can afford that. Juventus can afford that as well. And I think that's another thing that Mikel looked into, and he said, among other defenders that I'm going to sell, which one is affordable to the markets out there? If Gabriel Magalhaes was to leave, probably 70 million. Saudi Arabia would be the ones that would give him or would give us that kind of money. We were told like, the last summer, Gabriel Magalhaes was going to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia came in strong. They offered some good money, but Arsenal rejected. So you never know, right? Again, you never know. So this time, I think Arsenal are spot on. Jakub Kiwior is the one you can make a profit on. Jakub Kiwior is the one that has offers and admirers, especially in Italy. He's the one you sell. As simple as that. Then in the future, when offers come in for Zinchenko, when offers come in for maybe Tomiyasu, you can look to move them on. But also I think, when I think about Kiwior, he's the less important one. I'm sorry to say this. I think he's the less important one when it comes to Calafiori, Tomiyasu, and Zinchenko. This is the reason. You remember last season when Arsenal played against Bayern and we were struggling, really, really struggling, and Kiwior had a very poor game. We were trailing 2-1. Mikel Arteta took off Kiwior and he brought on Alexander Zinchenko. And by doing so, and by doing that, Arsenal actually governed a lot of the ball in the second half of the game, and Arsenal got an equalizer. And surprisingly, despite the fact that Bayern have a lot of pace, they didn't expose Alexander Zinchenko than like I would have thought, right? They actually, I would say, Bayern troubled us when we had Kiwior on the pitch as compared to the second half when he had Alexander Zinchenko on the pitch. But that's not the point. The point is Alexander Zinchenko offers something different to Mikel Arteta, and as a manager, he's going to look into it, and he's going to ask himself a question: where do I get most quality? Who gives me the most quality? Is it Alexander Zinchenko? Is it Jakub Kiwior? I think it's Alexander Zinchenko, because yes, defensively he is a disaster waiting to happen. But remember, there are games Arsenal can have 90% possession. There are games that Arsenal are going to have to overload the midfield. There are games that Arsenal are going to need good players on the ball. There are games that Arsenal are going to need to break down low blocks or break down mid blocks, and you're going to need the likes of Alexander Zinchenko. So Kiwior finds himself at Arsenal as I don't know how I should put this. He finds himself in a situation where he's the one that is less important, but also secondly, he is the one that can make a lot more money than Zinchenko. I don't know if a club wanted Tomiyasu. I don't know. I think we could make profit on Tomiyasu. We brought him in for 18 million. If we were to sell him, maybe Tomiyasu goes for something like 35 million, but he's also very injury prone. But anyway, we don't have so many offers for Tomiyasu. We have offers for Kiwior, and that is the one that is going to be leaving. He's the one that's going to make way for Arsenal to bring in Riccardo Calafiori. For me, it's good balance. Yes, I know last season it was a little bit better than than many of the players that are going to stay, but I would say I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with Kiwior leaving and us bringing in Riccardo Calafiori, because eventually you've got to ask the question, what do they do? Both of them, they almost do something very, very similar. Kiwior, left back, left center back. Calafiori, left back, left center back. Where's the difference? The difference is one leaves, one comes in. That's the only difference I can see. So Fabrizio this week has given us, he's done a very good job in terms of confirming the already broken stories on Riccardo Calafiori. But I can say Riccardo Calafiori has been the biggest highlight this week, as Arsenal have agreed a 50 million euro deal with Bologna. Personal terms agreed already a 4 million per year, a contract that will run until 2029. That is already confirmed. Now, on top of Mika Bierith, who have been sold to Sturm Graz, Arsenal today have also lost another player, and that is Cossy who has joined Brighton on a free deal. Brighton have just confirmed that signing of Cossy, And this one is entirely free. Now, I was absolutely very angry when Arsenal signed one of our very star boys, Mikel Arteta, for 4 million. But Cossy has been another star player for down there at the at Hell End in the Arsenal Academy. He's leaving on a free. That's confirmed. And I don't know why Mikel and I don't know why Edu do not address this quickly, but it's a problem. It's a very, very big problem. You cannot keep on losing these youngsters. You invest a lot of time in them. You travel with them on UEFA Champions League days and all other those other days, and then somehow you don't you don't use them, or you don't get anything out of them. It's quite bad. So Cossy has gone to Brighton. That is confirmed. It is done. It is dusted. William Gallas thinks that Arsenal should sign a striker, and Mikel Arteta agrees. However, it's the profile of the striker that both of them agree on or disagree on. William Gallas has said Arsenal should go and sign Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins will win Arsenal the league next season and will turn them into proper title contenders. I think Arsenal are already title contenders, proper title contenders. I think the point is getting us over the line. Does Ollie Watkins get Arsenal over the line? That's a very big question. And I want to discuss, Gallas's comments and Gallas's thoughts on Watkins with you in the comment box below. Do you think Watkins is the striker Arsenal should sign? Do you think Watkins can see Arsenal over the line? And do you think that Watkins, at 28, 29 now, can actually play until 33? Do you think there is still another 3 good seasons or 4 good seasons in Ollie Watkins, right? Because when I think about him, I'm like, yes, he's done well, especially at Villa, at Brentford, but do I see him as a top player? I think he's good. I think he's all right. I think he's a very good striker. Last season, fantastic season. But I have a problem with him, and we're going to talk about it. So Watkins, Osimhen, and Victor Gyökeres are now very unlikely to sign for Arsenal, as Arsenal are looking elsewhere in terms of profiles of a striker. That is also one of the big stories of the week. Arsenal want to make sure that by the end of the summer, they brought in a new forward. But the new forward we want to sign is actually not the profile of a 25-year-old, 26-year-old proven goal scorer. We are actually looking at a younger player that is walking into their prime. Not someone in their prime, not someone who's walking out of their prime, but someone who's walking into their prime. Bit of what we've been doing with our transfer strategy, bringing in 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds to let them develop. By the time they're 23, by the time they're 24, they're actually in a much better state. So let's start off with Gallas, because Gallas thinks that Arsenal should sign Watkins. And Watkins would be a good signing for Arsenal, and he would see us go over the line, right? He would see us go over the line in terms of winning the league. Now, he had a very good campaign last season, and he's one of the key factors, one of the key reasons why Aston Villa went on to go to the Champions League. I think they had not done that in a very, very long period of time, Villa. The manager is a big pillar of that, the organization, the team, but most importantly, very important to note, were the goals of Ollie Watkins. That was his highest goal scoring season as a Premier League footballer, and no one expected, no one saw it coming. No one thought that we were going to have a season where Ollie Watkins was going to ramp up 19, 20 goals in a campaign. No one even thought about that. All of us were thinking, well, it's a good striker, but he's one that gets you 15 to 16 goals a season, and that's the end of him. That's the end of the story. Last season, in a proper team with a proper manager, we saw Ollie Watkins explode, and that is the first thing that you've got to appreciate about Watkins. It means that if Arsenal really can, put up a good system for him, if we can give him the service Villa gave him, if we can give him the right tactical setup, he can reproduce those numbers. Because when I look at his goals, they're actually not, how do I call them? These crazy goals. The way Gabriel Jesus scores his goals, taking on two players, beating them and then beating the goalkeeper. That's not what he does. Watkins actually scores very simple goals and very striker-like goals, I would say. Running through the shoulders, he has direct runs, and headers as well, corner kicks, dead ball situations. He can head the ball into the back of the net. That is Ollie Watkins. So when Gala says that he can take Arsenal over the line, I kind of understand where he's coming from. I kind of understand why he says that. He looks at him as a player probably that can come in and just bring in his experience, just bring in his quality, and Arsenal move on. The challenge with Arsenal trying to sign a younger striker is that he comes in to learn from whoever is there. So he's going to learn from Kai Havertz, he's going to learn from Gabriel Jesus, he's going to learn from Edin Nketiah. To be honest, all three, they are not good. They are not good strikers. You don't want any of them to be the guy that is teaching you how to finish. You don't want to learn finishing from Gabriel Jesus. You don't want to learn finishing from Nketiah. And certainly, you don't want to learn finishing from Kai Havertz. So, Gallas has got a point, but I think Watkins, for me, has questions, right? Now, has he been consistent a little bit? Yeah, I would say yeah. He's been a little bit consistent with his numbers and trying to score at least 10 plus goals every season. But at 29, I don't think that an English striker is going to give you another 3 good seasons. I want to be honest, right? I don't think he's not Wayne Rooney. Let's be honest with that, with ourselves. He is not Wayne Rooney. So I don't think at 29 he's going to give you a good season at 30, a good season at 31, and a good season at 32. I don't think. And I would be very surprised if Aston Villa don't sign a striker this summer. I'll be very surprised because I think Villa know that you now cannot just rely on him, right? You have Champions League football, you have Premier League football, you have FA Cup and all these other competitions. You just can't rely on Ollie Watkins, right? And I don't want Arsenal to bring him in as the guy that just wins us the lead, as the guy that just comes into, score goals that take us over the line. I doubt he can do that. Not a bad player. He is not a bad player, but I doubt he can actually do that. I doubt he can just come in and transform Arsenal into winners. I don't see that there. And also in terms of winning mentality, if we think about Osimhen has won. If we think about Gyökeres won last season. In terms of winning mentality, I don't think he's the guy. I honestly don't think he's the guy. Apart from his pedigree and Premier League proven status, is there anything you see in Ollie Watkins that I'm not saying? Because personally, I think we could do better. I think that's what I want to say. I think we could do better than Ollie Watkins. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this, actually. I would take Ivan Toney over Watkins because Toney would be cheaper, first and foremost. But Toney is younger as well. Toney is 27, Ivan Toney. He's 27. So 27, 28, 29, 30. I can see 3 good seasons out of Ivan Toney. And I can see one more good season, one more top season from Ollie Watkins. I won't be surprised if he drops off next season. I won't be surprised if Watkins is no longer as good, right? I won't be surprised next season. He might, ramp up his numbers again, but preferably, I would go with Toney over Watkins. Alex says, would you go for Solanke? Would go for Solanke, not Watkins. The thing with Solanke, again, a little bit younger, right? So Solanke is a little bit younger. You can do a long period with them. With Watkins, it's that age that I'm afraid of. It's that age range that I'm afraid of when it comes to English players. But my problem with Solanke is that one season wonder effect, that one season wonder syndrome could actually hunt him down, right? So that's why I'm afraid of going for Solanke. He might have been good, but I don't really think he's going to have many good seasons or many top seasons like that. So I would say any team, any big team, stay away from Dominic Solanke as quickly as much as you can. That's the advice I would give you out there. But Solanke, is he that level? No, I think Solanke is Tottenham. So if you ask me where should Solanke go, I would say Tottenham. I think Tottenham and Solanke are very, very sinkable. When it comes to Arsenal and Solanke, Gabriel Jesus, Edin Ketia, I'll put them in the same level, in the same bracket, and throw them out of Arsenal. So Gala says Watkins. Now Watkins is just another example of all these prime strikers that Arsenal are not going to sign. I wanted us to talk about Osimhen and Gyökeres because it's one of the big stories this week. Osimhen and Gyökeres look like Arsenal is a closed door for them. It looks like Arsenal is a closed door for Osimhen and also a closed door for Victor Gyökeres. Why? Because Arsenal have decided that they're going to sign a younger striker. They're not going to go for an older one. Internal negotiations took place. Arsenal deliberated, who do we go for? Sesko, this and that. And they finally settled on a younger striker. So Osimhen and Gyökeres deals currently off. They are not as young. And I'm not going to explain again. I think I've done a very good job. I've done a very good video explaining the Arsenal striker situation and the decision that has been taken by Arsenal and why we have taken that decision. So if you care, you can go and watch that, right? But Osimhen and Gyökeres, don't be surprised if throughout July and throughout August, we never talk about them again. Don't be very surprised. Now, I want us to talk about Max Beier because Max Beier is the new striker that Arsenal, new forward, not basically, an old-fashioned striker, but he's the new forward that Arsenal are tracking. He's playing at Offenheim. He's German. And Arsenal think that he can come in and work with Kai Havertz. So I've looked at Max Beier, and Max Beier is not anything like a traditional center forward. He's not anything like Gyökeres. He's not anything like Osimhen. He's not anything like that. So actually, if we were to classify him, we would say his playing style is that of Alexander Isak. A player that you look at and you're like, I wouldn't say he's a center forward, right? I wouldn't say he's a center forward. So he's just a forward. Modern forward, young forward that Arsenal think has a higher ceiling. And a couple of clubs actually want him, right? So it's not only Arsenal. And he's had a good season in Germany with Offenheim. He's had a very good season. He scored 16 goals for them. I'm just not convinced. And I think with some of these deals, that is what's going on in my head these days. At times, I'm just not convinced. I'm just not convinced about some of these deals. I'm just not convinced about Max Beier. I'm just not convinced about Arsenal signing a proven striker. I'm just not convinced, right? He might be good. He might come in at Arsenal, take his 2 years off, a bit like Fabio Vieira, and maybe come good and maybe not come good. But I'm not just convinced. I'm just not convinced about, Max Beier. But he's the forward that Arsenal want to get from Germany, and they think that they can get that deal done. Obviously, it's going to be cheaper than the likes of Gyökeres and Osimhen. He's available. Hoffenheim will be able to sell him. The player would be open to move to the Premier League. So it's a bed of roses. It's a bed of roses for now. Kwame says, hi, Cossy. I don't think we need to sign any more players. Calafiori is good sign of purchasing. And Alex says, Gabriel Jesus this season, no excuse. You have to score goals. If he's injured again, it's over for him. I think with Gabriel, it's not going to be about him scoring goals. I think it's going to be about him trying to prove to the manager that he can do more than scoring goals. And that is my problem with that is my problem with such signings or with such players. It is hard to quantify their contribution to the club. It's very hard to quantify it. He's not going to have 10 assists. He's not going to have 20 goals. So he's going to have 8 goals, 9 goals, and maybe 7 assists around there. But I think for Mikel, what he cares about when it comes to Gabriel Jesus, can he impact games, especially games that he's not going to be starting? Because I don't see him start ahead of Kai. I don't see him start ahead of Martinelli and Trossard. And you bet he won't start ahead of Saka, right? So that means that his role in the squad right now is impacting games. If he comes in and impacts like 7 games, trust me, Mikel is going to say he has actually done well. And that is my big problem with such players. They can they can literally have 7 good games in a campaign and they stay at the club. They can have 10 good games at a club, come in, impact 10 good games, and and they're all right. What I would say with Gabriel is, if a good offer comes in this summer, Arsenal should consider selling, right? Arsenal should consider selling. If a good offer comes in for Zinchenko, Arsenal should consider selling, because next summer, you have 2 probabilities. Either they do well and many clubs come in for them and you're going to get good money, or they have a replica of the bad seasons they have had, and eventually you get even less money than you would have got last summer. So that's what I'm saying, that the best option for Arsenal right now is, if you have a good offer on the table for Gabriel Jesus, 100% I would sell. 100%. I would move him on. Like, no question about that. Kwame says he's too injury prone. I don't think he's too injury prone. I think that injury that he got with Brazil in 2022 during the World Cup affected him very much. And since then, he has had operation after operation after operation in the knee. And to tell you that he's not very injury prone, he's actually suffering one injury. It's a recurring injury, but it's one injury. It's not like other players that are suffering thigh injuries, knee injuries, ankle injuries. No, it is that injury. It's the knee injury. It's either it was not treated well, and if it wasn't treated well, then I would have to ask many questions of the Arsenal medical team, because we've got to get a clear answer from them, right? We've got to get a clear answer from them. Does he come back stronger, right? Will he be able to come back better, or are we just wasting our time, right? So for me, actually, my problem with them is, if he can play few games to protect his injuries and to manage him, and in those few games he can give us good impact next season, that's okay. But the problem will be keeping him. We don't sign another player. He picks up the same number of injuries. He's absent for a big period of time next season. And Arsenal don't have that squad depth that we would have if we had signed a player to replace him. So that is my that is my scare. That is my problem with with them, right? But I wouldn't say he's too injury prone and therefore let him quit Arsenal. Really, no. What is the future of Vieira, ESR, Zinchenko, Partey, Kiwior? Says Alex. So Alex, if you, okay, I'll give you one by one. So the future of Vieira is at Arsenal next season, most likely. It's at Arsenal next season. He's one of the players that Mikel Arteta has said, I'm going to keep him. And mind you, Mikel Arteta wants to keep him. This is a player that he brought in for 35 million. He has been very far away, not anywhere near impressing, right? But Mikel thinks that his future lies at Arsenal and he can get the best out of him. So Fabio Vieira's future is at Arsenal. Now, there were offers from Porto. Porto wanted to take him back, and the player also wants game time. But I think he's had a conversation with Mikel Arteta to actually convince him and talk to him about staying at the club, right? So that is Fabio Vieira. Emil Smith-Rowe, 60% he leaves, 40% he stays. The first thing I say today, Fulham have made him a priority. Now, a club doesn't make you a priority unless they know or unless they feel they can get you, unless they think they can get that deal done, they wouldn't make him a priority. So the player wants to stay. Arsenal are open to selling. Fulham want him as priority. So that's why I'm saying 60% he goes, 40% he stays. Eddie Nketiah's future at Arsenal is the most unlikely, or the one that no one can predict. This is the reason. Nketiah is not short of offers. Like, we have offers for Eddie Nketiah, and we have clubs that are willing to offer good money for Eddie Nketiah. But Arsenal are not sure they want to let him go, right? And for me, that is the reason why they gave him that deal. 100,000, 5-year deal. That's the reason as to why they gave him that deal. Because remember, if they want to bring in a young striker, what if that young striker doesn't do well? Actually, I think if Arsenal bring in a young striker, Eddie Nketiah will stay. So we might get a young striker and Eddie Nketiah stays because Nketiah has played in the Premier League more and he has Premier League experience. And maybe Mikel thinks, I want to keep Eddie to see what happens with the young striker that I bring in. I think Eddie's future relies on if Arsenal can get in a deadly forward, Eddie leaves. I don't think Arsenal are going to bring in a deadly forward. I don't think Eddie is on his way. However, it will also depend on the offers. If Arsenal get strong offers, maybe 50 million, that's why they said we want 50 million. If they get good offers, 50 million, 45 million, 40 million, we'll see him leaving. But at the moment, Eddie's future, don't be too excited. If you want him out, he might actually stay. Aaron Ramsdale is still very, very uncertain because according to Sky, Arsenal want to keep him. And because Arsenal want to keep him, it means that the clubs that want to get him are either going to have to pay a high fee or they have to get him on loan, right? But Arsenal have already prepared who comes in if Ramsdale leaves. Who else? Reiss Nelson. I think we know what's happening with Reiss Nelson. He's already told the club, I'm going to be leaving. I'm not going to be staying at Arsenal. That is that's already confirmed. Cossy, let's first compare Santiago Gimenez of Feyenoord, Argentine, with these other striker options. The Arsenal with the other striker options. Thanks for the job you're doing. Santiago Gimenez. I think you overrate. Many of us overrate him. I think he's good, but there is that element of the hype, right? He's got that element of the hype. Now, I would not take Santiago Gimenez over Osimhen. I want to be very clear. I would not take him over Victor Gyökeres. But apart from Osimhen and Gyökeres, I'll take Santiago Gimenez over Max Beier, over Joshua Zirkzee, over all these other, young crop strikers that we are linked with. I'll take him over them, honestly. The thing with Gimenez is that he's almost like a kind of a traditional forward. He's a number 9. When you look at him, you expect goals. The likes of Zirkzee, the likes of Max Beier, those are non-strikers. Those are players that, they're forwards. They will end a season with 8 goals, and that will be a good season. With Santiago Gimenez, you're sure he's a guy that comes in, and you're going to demand goals from him, and you're going to see goals come out of him, right? So that's why I would say, in pecking order, he's below Gyökeres, and he's also below Osimhen, because those are goal machines, powerhouses. They'll blow. When it comes to Gimenez, he's right underneath them. These other, forwards, hybrid, I don't want to hear that nonsense. I think he's massively better than them. So if Arsenal, I don't even think, I've not seen so many stories linking us with Santiago Gimenez. I've not seen so many clubs as well linked with Santiago. Probably Chelsea. Probably Chelsea is the club that were linked with him, right? Because Arsenal have been linked with Artem Dovbyk. I'll take Santiago Gimenez again over Dovbyk. I looked at Dovbyk at the Euros and I'm like, this guy, no. Right? So Gimenez, good player, really, really good player. I would fancy him. I would really do fancy him at Arsenal. ESR injury record is like that of Willock. Sell him right away. Okay, understand. Paya says, because the Arsenal need a striker, why do they want a young player? Only that for Gyökeres is not that bad. I love the way he plays. We should take him up, and we should. Yeah, he says we should take him up. I think my explanation for what's happening at Arsenal's striker precinct is that they want Kai to be the lead man. They want Kai Havertz to be the lead striker next season. That's it. Kai Havertz is going to be our lead striker next season. It's not going to be Gyökeres. They don't want someone to come in and replace Kai. Like they spent 65 million on him, and they don't want him to be dropped, at the moment. And then he's not going to work in midfield. Honestly, Rice doesn't work in the 6. He works in the 8. So if he works in the 8, it means Kai Havertz is pushed out of the 8 into the 9. It means that Kai Havertz pushes Gabriel Jesus out of the 9, and he also pushes any signings that would come to occupy that that forward position. So that's what's happening with Arsenal. That's what's going on. So that's why we are not getting an older striker. That's why we're getting a younger striker. That is the reason, right? That's the reason. Now, we have been rejected by 2 players from the Basque region. I hate players from the Basque region for rejecting Arsenal. Mikel Moreno was asked about his future, and he said, where am I going to play next season? I'm going to be at Real Sociedad. I have a contract with Real Sociedad, and that's where I'm most comfortable, right? So Mikel Moreno thinks that he's most comfortable at Real Sociedad, and he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to leave Real Sociedad. He wants to stay at Real Sociedad. That makes it 2 players at Real Sociedad that have actually turned down Arsenal this summer. Mikel Arteta, regardless of how much he loves them, regardless of how much he appreciates players from the Basque region, they don't want to play for us, and we've got to move on. We've got to move on with our lives. Zubimendi said no. Mikel Moreno has also said no. Yeah, we had a phone call with him, and I think he would be the first player to have a phone conversation with Mikel Arteta and eventually decide not to sign for Arsenal. All of the others that Mikel Arteta has talked to, tried to convince, they've ended up at Arsenal, apart from Mikel Moreno. Now, I'm going to say this. Mikel Moreno understands the role that Mikel wants him to do, but I'm not bothered by him not joining Arsenal. It's the same thing with Martin Zubimendi. They are not bad players. They are actually good players, but I am not bothered. If they want to sign for us, good, well and good. If they don't want to sign for us, well and good as well. I think there is better on the market than Martin Zubimendi. We can get better on the market than Mikel Moreno. For example, if Arsenal signed Kimmich, Moreno is not a problem for us. If we signed Onana, Zubimendi is not a problem, right? The only reason why I wanted Mikel Moreno is he's 28, Spanish. He's got that touch of Sergio Busquets, right? And he's so confident on the ball. My God. He's very confident on the ball that for Spain, at times, they actually play him in the advanced areas of the pitch. But he has said he wants to stay at Real Sociedad, and therefore Arsenal have to look elsewhere. By the way, for Arsenal now, that leaves us with Amadou Onana. That leaves us with who? Because it was confirmed this week that Arsenal is signing Kimmich, right? So that was another big story. Arsenal is signing Kimmich. So Kimmich is not joining. Mikel Moreno is not joining. Zubimendi is not joining. What does that leave us with? That leaves us with I don't know, right? I don't know. I think only Onana. Only Onana. But like I said, Mikel Moreno not joining Arsenal, that is not something that I really feel is a big problem for us at all. Okay. Olenga says, but Arsenal should sign a serious striker to compete with the likes of Haaland and also trying to win a trophy. I think the idea for Mikel or the idea of Mikel Arteta is that if everyone at the club scores a goal, for example, last season, every Arsenal player apart from David Raya, um, I think apart from David Raya, every other Arsenal player, Raya and Ramsdale, every other Arsenal player scored a goal, didn't we? We saw a goal from Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Tomiyasu at the end of the campaign. Maybe Kiwior. Did Kiwior score a goal? I kind of remember Kiwior scoring a goal, right? I kind of remember. I don't know. Zinchenko, and then in midfield, almost everyone scored apart from Partey, who came in late. Did Partey get a goal? No, I don't think he did. Maybe Jorginho as well. I think Jorginho didn't get a goal too. But the idea for Mikel Arteta is that he wants a team of 30 players. If every player scores 2 goals, that is 60 goals. If every player scores 3 goals, that is 90 goals, and that's enough for you to win the league. And then you're going to have the likes of Saka that scores 16, Martinelli 15, Odegaard 10 or 8, around there. So the idea for Mikel is still the same. He doesn't want to bring in players, to score many goals. He wants everyone on the pitch and everyone in the squad to score goals, right? So that's why Arsenal are not like under pressure to bring in to score goals. Toney says he scored. Okay. Make sure you're subscribed for you to be able to comment. If you cannot comment, it means you're not subscribed. So please make sure you're subscribed to make sure that to get your comments in. Cossy, we need a striker who could score 20 goals in the EPL. Kiwior scored a goal. Okay. Mike says I fancy Toney. I like Toney. I really do. I think it's a good. I think it's a good line, good striker. But we were told that Toney is one of the players that are not signing for Arsenal because of his mentality. Whatever that means. Whatever that means. I don't know. But mentality is back again, haunting players, and making them not sign for Arsenal. Cossy, it's nice we're signing Calafiori, but remember we need to sign a prolific striker like Gyökeres. We are totally done, and let's forget about the league. Oh, Mikel Arteta disagrees. Mikel Arteta disagrees. Mikel Arteta disagrees with you. Okay. Costa, should we still sign Toney? Toney is going to be cheaper, so you might as well go for Ivan Toney because he's going to be a cheaper player. So and he's 100% leaving too, right? They want to sell. He wants to leave. If Arsenal signed him, I don't think that would be the worst deal. I think it would be a good. I personally think it would be a good deal. Is what I think. But big up to you, Glenn. I hope you're doing well, my man. John says Toney is rude. Trust me. Kwame says Kiwior isn't good enough. Toney is rude. I want you people to stop. How should I call it? Lying to me. There are times when you lie to me, right? Toney is rude in which way? What has he done to show that he's rude? I think Ivan Toney is a bit like Lucas Paqueta. When you get those charges around your neck, it's very hard for your career to progress. Right now, Lucas Paqueta is going back to Brazil. I think it's what? Which team is trying to sign him? Is it Palmeiras, Vasco da Gama? Where? He's going back to Brazil. When you have those betting charges around your neck, it's very hard to overcome. If Arsenal had not, if Toney had not got betting charges, he would be an Arsenal or a Chelsea player. Trust me. He would be an Arsenal or a Chelsea player. Come on, if clubs signed Balotelli, if clubs signed, who else was rude? Like, if clubs could sign Balotelli, why not? If Wenger signed Robin van Persie, one of the most chaotic kids in footballing history, I think it's the betting charges. And then the comment that says, when you say Kiwior is not good enough, what do you actually mean, Kwame? Kiwior isn't good enough because he had a bad game. Okay. John says Gyökeres is still available, but Arsenal not not looking at that age group, not looking at that group. Ivan Toney is like Balotelli in a cool kid club. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. And we'll talk again. We'll talk again.